Hi everyone, I'm Peter Terrace, and I just wanted to talk to you about the recent Twitter storm I was involved in, and specifically how it relates to Randy Hillier, Jim Carahalios, and this Bill 254. But first, I just want to say that I'm grateful that it happened on Twitter, because I think if it was happening in person in a meeting or something, it would have been far more damaging, because a lot of emotions got out. Where you could see that a lot of emotions were brewing, and really that. I think we were able to temper those emotions by having the 150 characters and the time in between responses in order that emotions don't get away from us. So I'm quite grateful for that. Um, but Solzhenitsyn, the author of the Gulag Archipelago, what he says is that you can't just separate people between good and bad, right? That the good are over there, the bad are over here, and all we have to do is just separate each other from and we're going to have a good society over there and a bad society over there. No, in fact, he says the line that separates good and evil goes between the heart of every individual. So we are all corruptible. I am corruptible. And only by having that framework of morality, that moral framework, coupled with the knowledge that I am corruptible, can I then fight it. But I fall every day. I do choose corruption over good every day. And so how do I combat that after I've already chosen evil? I have to choose redemption. I have to choose to do things that are going to correct that. Sometimes it can be an apology. Sometimes it can be, doing actual work in order to recover the damage that has been done. But having said that, I may also corrupt myself without even knowing it. So who would I rather have pointed out to me? Would it be my friends or my enemies? I would much rather have people who want to empower me, to want to strengthen me, to want to build me up. I want those people to point out to me how I've fallen. So having said that, I guess the one thing about this with Randy Hillier and how this has come out. I mean, Randy Hillier has put himself out there so much with the no more lockdowns, going to protests, getting fined hundreds of thousands of dollars. I understand that. I've been to the protests. I put myself out there. I've never gotten fined, but he has. So when anybody starts to question him, I can understand his frustration when he's done so much. He's like, well, I've sacrificed so much for this, and now you're questioning me. No, it's not like that. It's more about, you know, would Doug Ford have come to Randy Hillier and said, "Hey, I want you to work for me"? No, it's not that simple either. It's not quite that. It's far more subtle than that. So what we need to figure out, and I think we need to do it for the good of our movement, because we need to be united. And if when we were talking about controlled opposition, it doesn't mean that someone is working actively towards separating a freedom movement. It means just that it is happening. And so when somebody accuses Randy of being controlled opposition, I could see why he would get upset, because he's sacrificed so much and done so much. So from my perspective, what I think it is, I think it's more just a matter of things were done to leave Jim Carahalios and Belinda Carahalios out of specific funding that every other MPP in Ontario was able to receive because of this new law that was passed. And Randy Hillier also was able to benefit from it. So does that mean that he was involved actively in it? No. And if that's the case, this whole thing is resolved and we can move on. But if Randy Hillier was actively doing things to make sure that Jim and Belinda were being left out, then that's what we want to know. And I think that's a pretty simple question. It's a very straightforward question, but I think it got lost in the accusations, especially when you start using words like controlled opposition, because controlled opposition means many different things, and it certainly, from my wording of it and so my usage of it, doesn't mean that I was saying that Randy was acting to divide a movement. I think it's more that it's just it's turning into a little bit of an ego battle because of all these accusations being thrown around. So if we can just get to the bottom and say, hey, look, these accusations were not made in the way to damage people or to destroy people, but just to bring out the truth. So I don't know. I hope that helps, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. Thanks.